Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're exploring all sorts of motivational speeches about, well, pushing yourself to reach those big goals. We've got snippets from a ton of different speakers, and man, some of this stuff really hit me hard. It's not just like fluffy feel-good stuff, though.
Right. It's not just about positive thinking, is it?
No, not at all. These speakers get into the nitty-gritty, the struggle, the discipline, all the stuff that makes real achievement possible.
What I find fascinating is how, even though these are all different people, they keep hitting on those same big themes.
Totally.
Like how do we deal with pressure? How do we even figure out what our purpose is? And this idea that persistence, it's not just about willpower, right?
Okay, so one speaker really grabbed my attention with this idea of the unseen costs of success.
Oh, interesting.
They brought up people like Tiger Woods, Michael Phelps, people we think of as, having it all. Then they got into the really personal struggles that these icons have faced.
Yeah. It's easy to forget that, isn't it? We often idolize success without really acknowledging the sacrifices, the tough times that come with it.
Sure.
It's like we see the highlight reel, but not the behind-the-scenes struggles.
Exactly.
This speaker, I think they were trying to offer a more grounded view of what success really means. They use the example of Michael Phelps, Olympic gold medals, setting world records, but also battling depression, even thinking about suicide.
That's heavy stuff. Makes you realize there's so much more to the story than we often see.
Absolutely. And it leads into another point that a bunch of these speakers brought up, which is being internally oriented. One even called the external stuff, like other people's opinions, incredibly weak, almost dangerous.
Wow, that's a pretty strong statement. What exactly did they mean by that?
Well, they're basically saying don't let other people's expectations define your goals. It's so easy to get trapped in this cycle of seeking validation from others, always comparing yourself.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
Oh, totally. I remember this one time I was so focused on what other people thought, and you know what? It was like I could never be myself.
Right. You're always trying to be what they want you to be.
Yeah, and it's exhausting. How do you think someone can like break free from that need for external validation?
Well, one speaker had a really interesting idea. They said, instead of looking to others for approval, try visualizing yourself as having already achieved your goals. Like, really feel the emotions. Embody that confidence of your future self.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Exactly. You create such a strong image of success in your mind that it kind of pulls you towards it.
I like that, but I think a lot of people, even if they can visualize it, they struggle with that next step, the actual doing. Did the speakers talk about that at all?
Oh, definitely. One of them put it really simply. They said, what separates people who achieve their goals from those who don't boils down to this. They understand the power of just showing up every day and doing the boring stuff.
The boring stuff, huh? I guess that makes sense, though. It's not always exciting, is it?
Not always, no. But it's those small, consistent actions that build up over time. Think of it like an iceberg.
Okay, an iceberg. I'm listening.
You see the tip above water, that's the success everyone sees. But underneath, there's this huge mass of effort and dedication. That's the unseen work that makes it all possible.
That's where I had a total aha moment.
Right.
One of the speakers, they talked about the reps. Not weightlifting reps, but like, those small actions you do consistently that lead to the big achievements. It's not about looking for shortcuts. It's about embracing the process, putting in the work day after day.
I love that analogy.
Hmm.
It's a reminder that, success is a marathon, not a sprint.
Totally. And to that point, there's this Chinese proverb that several speakers mentioned. It's everything must be hard before it can be easy.
That's a good one.
It just resonated with me because it's honest. It acknowledges that it's not always going to be smooth sailing.
Right, it's about resilience.
Yeah. Mental toughness. One speaker even challenged listeners to try running on a treadmill with NO music.
Whoa, that's hardcore.
It's about pushing through discomfort, learning to handle those tough moments.
That's a good challenge. I might actually try that.
You should. It's amazing how much stronger you feel mentally when you can push through those moments.
Okay, then one speaker gave this really cool visual for dealing with uncertainty. They said, imagine you're walking through fog.
Oh, that's a good one.
You can only see like one step ahead, but you have to trust that eventually the fog will clear.
I love that.
It's like life rarely gives us a clear roadmap, right?
Yeah.
We often have to navigate with limited visibility, just trusting our gut.
And making the best choices we can with what we have in that moment.
Exactly. Okay, are you ready for something that totally surprised me?
Hit me with it.
Several speakers actually talked about loneliness in a positive way.
Loneliness. Positive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not isolation, but like intentionally embracing solitude as a way to like reconnect with yourself. It's a different way of thinking about it, isn't it?
It really is. It made me wonder if we're so focused on connecting with others that we're neglecting the most important connection, the one with ourselves.
That's a great point. Maybe we're so busy with the external noise that we're not making space for that inner voice.
It's definitely something to think about. All right, last concept from this batch, and this one's about integrity. A lot of the speakers stressed the importance of, living by your values, even when no one's watching.
It's easier said than done, though, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It takes real discipline.
It's about aligning your actions with your beliefs, even when it's hard.
And that's where things get really interesting. Because sometimes doing the right thing means making tough choices.
Choices that might not be popular or easy.
Exactly. And that's a whole other level of commitment.
It's about choosing integrity over convenience, and sometimes even over popularity.
And that's what sets apart those who truly walk the walk.
It's about being the same person in the shadows as you are in the spotlight. It's about knowing that your values guide you, no matter what.
Powerful stuff, man. Powerful stuff.
And we're back, diving deeper into these motivational speeches.
I'm still thinking about that whole loneliness thing. It's wild.
Right. Using it as a tool. Who would have thought?
Totally changes your perspective.
It actually connects really well with another concept that kept popping up. Temporary pain.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. One of the speakers said if you can push through like 5 instances of that temporary pain,
Mm-hmm.
you'll meet a new version of yourself on the other side. Every single time.
It's a little scary, but also kind of exciting, right?
Yeah, it's definitely both.
It highlights how, growth isn't always going to feel good.
Makes sense.
It's recognizing those moments of, oh, this sucks, as like stepping stones to something better.
No pain, no gain.
Yeah, but maybe more like temporary pain, lasting gain.
Love that. It's like when you're at the gym pushing yourself in a workout class, you're like dying in the moment, but afterward.
You feel incredible.
Yeah, you did it. You pushed through.
Exactly. But there were also some good tips for when it gets really tough, not just powering through blindly.
Oh, like what?
One speaker said, when you feel like quitting, just make the decision not to quit for one more day. That's it.
Just one more day.
Yep. It takes the pressure off. No huge commitment. Just get through today.
I like that.
And if you string enough of those days together, boom, you've got momentum.
Momentum's huge.
It is. It becomes a habit, that perseverance. And that brings us back to one of the big things these speakers talked about, those small gains.
The reps.
Yes, those little consistent actions that build up to those big, impressive results.
The stuff that most people don't see.
Right. It's about showing up day after day, doing the work, even when it feels, well, kind of boring.
One speaker said it straight up.
Oh, yeah.
They said what separates those who reach their goals, the ones who don't. Simple. The achievers, they get the power of showing up every day, doing the boring stuff.
Facts. It's easy to get caught up in the flashy success stories, right? Like those overnight sensations.
Totally.
But you got to remember, behind every one of those, there's usually years of work nobody saw.
Just like those athletes who make everything look so easy.
Exactly.
You see them winning championships, scoring touchdowns, but you don't see all the sweat, the early mornings, the grind that got them there.
It's the behind-the-scenes stuff that really counts.
One speaker actually said, and I'll never forget this, goals are boring.
Wait, really?
Yep. And it's so true. Think about it. All those people you admire who have what you want, they're not doing anything magical.
Right, there's no secret formula.
They're just putting in the reps consistently, day after day.
It's about embracing the process, not just the end result.
And those reps, they don't just change your, external results. They change your mindset.
Totally. One speaker talked about creating a winning streak.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What was it? Like, win the day, every day.
Exactly. Win today. Wake
Yeah.
up tomorrow, same thing. Wednesday, same thing. Thursday, same thing.
And what happens?
You create a winning streak. You start seeing yourself differently.
You become a winner, not just someone who wants to win.
Exactly. It's about that shift in identity, starting to believe in yourself.
Which takes work.
It does, but it's powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's about proving to yourself through action that you can actually do it.
Okay, but what about those times when, even though you're putting in the work, life just throws a curveball?
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about that. It's
Yeah.
not always about pushing, pushing, pushing.
Right. When do you step back?
A few of the speakers actually touched on that. They called it weathering the storm.
Weathering the storm. Okay, I like that.
It's about continuing to move forward, but maybe adjusting your approach. One of them said, Don't flinch. Don't let them know they got to you. We don't stop. We don't step back. We keep walking.
So sometimes perseverance means just not giving up, even if you're not making tons of progress.
Exactly. It's about trusting that even when you feel stuck, something's happening beneath the
I'll
surface.
get that. It's like when you're learning something new and you hit that plateau. You're not seeing improvement, but you got to keep practicing, trusting it'll click eventually.
Exactly. Or think about those times you had to make a tough choice, like letting go of a relationship that's no longer serving you.
Oof, that's a hard one.
It is. But sometimes stepping back means stepping away from things that are holding you back.
Okay, there was one quote about this that it was brutal, but so good.
Which one was that?
It was something like, there's a specific person you need to get out of your life right now, the one who wants to remind you of who you were.
Ooh, yeah, I remember that one. Powerful stuff.
It's about creating distance from anyone who wants to keep you stuck in the past.
It's not about being mean. It's about choosing yourself, choosing your growth.
Because you deserve to move forward.
Absolutely. And that means surrounding yourself with people who support that journey.
The ones who celebrate your wins, who challenge you to be better, who want to see you succeed.
That's your tribe.
Yeah. And one of the speakers said something really interesting about high achievers. They're actually very selective about who they let into their inner circle.
Oh, that's interesting.
They said it's about quality over quantity, surrounding yourself with people who elevate you, who share that ambition.
I can see that. It's like you can't be weighed down by negativity or drama
Right.
when you're trying to reach big goals.
Exactly. They literally said anything that doesn't contribute, anything that doesn't push you forward, anything you feel like you're carrying, cut it out.
No dead weight allowed.
Nope. And that's where personal responsibility comes in, because you get to decide what you carry.
One of the most powerful themes in these speeches, for sure. That idea of owning your choices, your actions.
No more blaming others, no more excuses.
Right. One speaker said, take full responsibility for what happens to you. That's true maturity. Right. It's a high bar, but think about it. If you believe you have the power to shape your own life,
That changes everything.
it does. And it leads to another point these speakers kept coming back to. Having a vision for your life.
Ah, yeah, like that sense of purpose, that North Star that guides you.
One of them said something like, I don't know how anyone survives life with any peace or happiness without a dream.
Wow.
They were all about dreaming big, setting goals that truly excite you, that maybe even scare you a little.
Oh, I remember that one. If your dreams don't scare you to death, they're not big enough.
Exactly. Don't settle for a life that feels small or unfulfilling. Go after those things that make your heart beat faster.
Easier said than done, though. It can be hard to even know where to start.
For sure. But one of the speakers gave this great analogy. They said, most people never pick up the phone and call. Most people never ask. And that's the difference between those who do things and those who just dream about them.
It's about taking action, right? Not just thinking about it, but actually doing it.
Exactly. And that's where mastering your mindset comes in.
Oh, yeah, that mental game. They talked about that a lot.
Because it's everything, isn't it? Our thoughts, our beliefs, they shape our reality.
One of them said something like, the biggest thing holding people back is the story they tell themselves.
So true. That negative self-talk, it can be crippling.
You got to replace those limiting beliefs with ones that empower you.
There was one speaker who used this incredible imagery for that. They were talking about how we're not defined by our past, how we can rewrite our story.
Ooh, what was it?
They said something like, people don't realize they still hold the pen. There are thousands of empty pages in their book, and they can rewrite that story.
That's beautiful.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Let go of what others have written about you, pick up that pen, and start creating your own narrative.
But creating that new narrative, it takes discipline.
Big time. The speakers really emphasize that. It's the key to achieving any goal that matters.
It's doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it.
There was one speaker who had a real raw message about that.
Oh, yeah.
They said, you got to say to yourself, feelings have nothing to do with it. This is my dream, and I'm going to do the things I don't feel like doing. I'm going to do the things that don't come easy.
Tough love.
It is, but it's real. You can't always rely on motivation. Sometimes you just have to grit your teeth and do it.
One of them had a great analogy, something about anger and an engine.
Oh, yes. Let anger be the spark, but discipline is the engine.
Right. Passion can get you started, but discipline keeps you going.
And that discipline, it helps you build character, resilience, all those qualities that make you a stronger person overall.
It's not just about achieving external success, it's about inner growth, too.
Exactly. Remember how one of the speakers asked, what if problems were actually gifts?
Whoa, yeah.
It's about reframing those challenges, seeing them as opportunities instead of obstacles.
Instead of being a victim, you become empowered. You get to choose how you respond.
And that's where embracing failure comes in.
They talked about that a lot, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. They weren't afraid to get real about it.
Hmm.
One of them said straight up, if you're afraid of failing, you won't get very far.
Makes sense. If you're too scared to try, you'll never know what you're capable of.
And the truth is, everyone fails sometimes. It's what you do after you fail that matters.
One of them said something about successful people being the ones who have failed the most.
Right. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about learning from it, getting back up and trying again.
Resilience.
Exactly. And then, remember the powerful metaphor they kept using?
The fog.
Yes. Life's journey can feel like walking through fog. You can only see one step ahead, but you got to trust you'll eventually find your way.
One of them said, when nothing's clear, trust that the fog is part of the journey. I love that.
It's about learning to trust your intuition, trusting the process, trusting that you'll figure it out as you go.
And that the journey is just as important as the destination.
Totally. One of them said, the measuring stick isn't, am I perfect? It's, am I moving in the right direction? Focus on path over perfection.
Path over perfection.
Right. Celebrate those little wins along the way. They all add up.
And detach from the outcome. Just keep moving forward.
There was a great quote about that. It's something like, set the goal, know where you want to go, and then let it go. It might take longer than you expect, but if you're making progress every day, that's what matters.
I needed to hear that.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder to be patient with ourselves and with the process.
And to be open to the unexpected. Sometimes the detours are what lead us to the most amazing destinations.
Totally agree. And sometimes you need to be patient because, as one of the speakers said, better isn't always visible. Growth often happens in quiet, unseen ways.
Oh, I liked that one. What was it again?
They said it's important to understand that better isn't always visible. You can be getting better, and it's not public, because private victories often precede public accomplishments.
So true. Got to celebrate those private wins.
They're what build the foundation for everything else.
Okay, let's talk about those tough times again. Because, let's be real, life can be hard.
Absolutely. And one of the things these speakers weren't afraid to address was anger.
Oh, interesting. Most motivational stuff avoids that, you know?
Oh, right. But they were saying anger is a powerful energy. It can be destructive, but it can also be a force for good.
So how do you use it constructively?
One speaker talked about choosing creation over destruction, using that intense energy to fuel positive change. Like, ask yourself, how can I turn this anger into something good? How can I use it to grow, to make an impact?
It's about channeling it, directing it towards something meaningful.
Exactly.
There was one speaker who said something that really stuck with me.
What was that?
They said, the future belongs to the risk takers.
Ooh, I like that one.
It's a reminder that you can't achieve anything extraordinary by playing it safe. You got to be willing to put yourself out there to go for it.
Even if it means failing sometimes.
Right. But, like we said before, failure is part of the process.
And those risks you take, they build courage.
One speaker defined courage as having two parts, right?
Yes. The first is the willingness to begin, and the second is persistence.
Persisting.
The willingness to keep going even when you're not sure what's going to happen.
One of them said, most people break and run. They can't stand not knowing.
But if you can stay the course, even when it's tough, that's true courage.
And remember that amazing analogy they used about the diamond being formed under pressure?
Oh, yeah, so good. What was it? Less time and less pressure, and it's just dirt. But time and pressure, that creates a diamond.
It's like those challenges we face, those moments of pressure, they're what make us stronger, more valuable, more resilient.
Totally.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot here. Taking action, being disciplined, embracing failure, mastering your mindset, that sense of purpose. What were those final pieces of advice they offered?
It all comes back to having a clear vision for your life, doesn't it?
Yeah, knowing what you want, setting those big, audacious goals.
One speaker said, you got to have a goal. It doesn't have to be super specific, but you have to be aiming for something.
Right. And then how do you actually make it happen?
They emphasize action. Remember, stop looking for the perfect morning routine, the perfect to-do list. Just start.
Ah, yes. No more overthinking, no more planning paralysis. Just dive in.
And if you want to win, one of them said, you need urgency. You need to take action and now W.
Urgency. I like that.
Because time is precious and you don't want to waste it.
And once you start taking action, you gotta stay consistent.
Discipline, baby. Success isn't built on flashes of emotion, one of them said. It's built on relentless effort, day after day, choice after choice.
It's those daily choices that determine where you end up.
And those choices, they got to be fueled by a strong why.
Your purpose.
Right. Knowing why you're doing what you're doing gives you the strength to keep going when things get tough.
They talked about how suffering can actually lead to hope if you can stick it out. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah. It went something like, suffering builds perseverance, perseverance builds character, and character builds hope.
It's like those hard times, they actually build you up.
They do. And they teach you to believe in yourself.
Which is so important. One of them said, most people aren't obsessed with their goals because they don't believe they're worthy of them.
Whoa. Powerful stuff.
Right. You gotta believe you deserve those good things, that you're capable of achieving them.
One speaker had this really great way of putting it. They said, when you dance to your own rhythm, when you play by your own rules and you're living through your vision, that's a perfect indication you're doing it right.
Because not everyone's gonna see it.
Exactly. They might not understand your vision, your path, but that's okay.
You have to trust yourself.
And you got to be able to handle the pressure.
Speaking of pressure, one of the speakers had this really unexpected take on it. They said there's no greater privilege than having a sense of personal pressure.
That's interesting, like the pressure to push yourself, to be better.
Yeah, because you can actually handle a lot more than you think you can.
They said, you can take a lot more than society tells you is healthy.
It's about not letting fear hold you back.
Exactly. And it's about finding joy in the process, even when it's hard.
One of them talked about being on a winning tear with your workouts, your job, your life.
Yeah, like tapping into that flow state where everything's clicking.
And they said some people go their entire lives figuring out there's even a train to catch.
Whoa.
Meaning they never even realize they have the potential to do great things.
So we got to make sure we're on that train, right?
And we got to help others get on board, too.
Absolutely. But sometimes to get on that train, you got to push yourself beyond your comfort zone.
One of them suggested trying things without your usual crutches.
Like what?
They said, I try to run on the treadmill with no music. See how long you can do that.
Wow, that's tough.
Right. It's about being present, feeling the discomfort, not numbing yourself out with distractions.
And when you can do that, you realize you're stronger than you thought.
Okay, one last concept that really resonated with me.
What's that?
The speakers talked about the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people.
Quality over quantity, right?
Yep. They said high achievers don't have tons of people around them. They're very selective.
It makes sense. You can't let negativity or low ambition drag you down.
One of them put it really bluntly. They said, anything that doesn't contribute, anything that doesn't push you forward, you got to cut it out.
No drama, no gossip, just focused energy.
It's about creating a supportive environment that allows you to thrive.
And it's about being intentional about who you spend your time with.
Because you become like the people you surround yourself with.
So choose wisely.
And we're back, ready to wrap up this deep dive into all things motivation and goal crushing.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty fired up after listening to all these speakers. There's so much wisdom packed into these snippets.
Seriously. And it's amazing how, even though they come from different backgrounds, they keep hitting on these universal truths.
It's like they're tapping into a shared understanding of, what it really takes to push yourself to achieve those things that matter.
One of the things that's really stuck with me is that idea of the internal compass.
Oh, yeah. Remember that speaker who was so adamant about not letting external validation be your driving force?
Yeah, the one who called it like weak and dangerous. It really made me think about where am I looking for approval?
It's a good question to ask.
Am I defining success based on what I value, or am I letting other people's opinions dictate my choices?
That speaker painted a pretty stark picture of how that external focus can sabotage your efforts.
Oh, I remember. It was something like,
You can be externally oriented or internally oriented. One is powerful, the other's weak. And if you're externally oriented, always worried about what people think, it will destroy you.
it's like you become a puppet, just dancing to everyone else's tune.
And you can't build real confidence that way.
So how do you break free? How do you develop that strong internal compass?
Visualization was a big theme, but not just daydreaming. It was about really feeling the experience of achieving your goals, like embodying the confidence of your future self.
Oh yeah, one speaker said something like,
Visualize everything you want to achieve. Hold on to that image of yourself, crossing the finish line, graduating, hitting that PR in the gym.
it's like creating a blueprint for success in your mind.
Exactly.
But they also acknowledge that, it's not going to be easy.
Oh, for sure. One of them said, your job isn't to avoid the hard parts in life. Your job is to show up.
Simple, but powerful.
Totally. And they talked about the importance of showing up with positive energy.
Oh, yeah, how negativity just drains you.
It's like you have a choice about what kind of energy you bring to the table.
One speaker was talking about how energy is contagious.
Right. And it always comes back to you in some form.
I think they said something like,
Master your energy. Adjust what you wake up thinking, what you say, what you do. If you're tired of negativity, adjust the energy.
you get to decide.
Exactly.
Ah.
And don't forget to celebrate those little wins along the way.
Oh, the small victories. Those are huge for keeping you motivated.
Remember that whole winning streak concept?
Oh, yeah, yeah. What was it again? Win today, wake up tomorrow, same thing. Wednesday, same thing.
And guess what happens? You create a winning streak. Winning becomes who you are.
It's like programming yourself for success.
Exactly. But it's also important to be kind to yourself along the way.
Self-compassion.
Yes. One speaker had this great analogy about the all or nothing mentality.
Ooh, what was it?
They said, it's like getting a flat tire and then slashing the other three, because you can't have four perfectly inflated tires.
Makes no sense. But I do that all the time, mentally.
I think we all do. It's easy to get caught in that trap of comparing ourselves to others, like we have to be perfect all the time.
Especially with social media, everyone's always presenting their best selves, their highlight reel.
It's not real life.
Yeah.
And it's not helpful.
One speaker reminded us that the measuring stick isn't, am I perfect? It's, did I get closer to who I want to be?
Focus on path over perfection.
It's about progress, not perfection. And that brings us back to action.
Always back to action.
One speaker was talking about how most people never actually pick up the phone and call. They never ask.
They just dream about it.
Exactly. But the people who do things, they're the ones who are willing to take that risk, to put themselves out there,
Even if it means failing.
which we know is part of the process.
One of the speakers had a really powerful message about discipline.
Oh, yeah.
They said, you got to say to yourself, feelings have nothing to do with it. This is my dream, and I'm going to do the things I don't feel like doing.
It's about showing up for yourself, even when it's hard.
It's about commitment. And one of them had a great analogy about that. They said, let anger be the spark, but let discipline be the engine.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Passion can get you started, but it's discipline that sustains you, that keeps you going.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. What were some of the key takeaways from these speeches?
Well, we talked about action, discipline, mindset, purpose. But it all comes down to this. You have the power to create the life you want.
It's not going to be easy.
No, definitely not.
But one speaker reminded us that pain is temporary, pride is forever.
And they said, you give it your all, you get it all tenfold.
So worth it. But what about when things get really tough? Like, what do you do when you feel like giving up?
One speaker had a really powerful message about resilience. They said, resilience is our ability to bounce back, but it's also about not getting pushed as far back because we've built up our resilience.
It's like strengthening a muscle.
Exactly. The more challenges you face, the more resilient you become.
One of them said something about how life's going to keep coming at you. You're either going through something, you've been through something, or you're gonna go through something.
It's inevitable, but we get to choose how we respond.
And one of the speakers challenged us to, actually embrace those difficult experiences.
Because they make us stronger.
They said, we want to embrace them because they're growing our ability to take things on in the future.
Love that.
Okay, so let's say you're ready to embrace those challenges, to go after those big goals. Where do you even start?
One speaker had a really simple but powerful piece of advice. Sit down, take your time, and think about what is your goal.
It all starts with that vision, right?
It does. And once you have that vision, one speaker said, spend some time feeling as if you already possess the goal.
It's about embodying the feeling of success.
They said, feel it this week and then you'll possess it.
So powerful. Okay, one of the things that's really resonated with me throughout these speeches is this idea of letting go.
Letting go of what?
Letting go of the past, letting go of limiting beliefs, letting go of relationships that are holding you back.
There were some strong words about that, weren't there?
One speaker said, there is nothing more important than getting people out of your life that want to pretend you're the person you were yesterday.
You're evolving, you're growing, you're advancing,
It's about recognizing that personal growth often requires leaving some things behind.
and trusting that you'll find new connections that support the next chapter of your journey.
Which makes me think about the people who do support us, those who lift us up and inspire us.
Our tribe.
Yeah. And one of the speakers gave some great advice on how to cultivate a supportive network. They said, there's a reason high-performing people don't have lots and lots of people around them. Anything that doesn't contribute, anything that doesn't push you forward, you have to cut it out. It's about creating boundaries and being intentional about who we allow into our inner circle.
No drama, no gossip, no losing losers, no low ambition, no non-urgent people, they said.
It's about surrounding yourself with people who elevate you, who challenge you to be your best self.
And it's about finding mentors, those who have walked the path before you and can offer guidance.
One of the speakers said, people don't become successful just by accident.
There's always a story, a journey, lessons learned along the way.
So find those people you admire, those who inspire you, and learn from them.
And don't forget to take care of yourself along the way.
Oh, self-care is crucial.
One speaker had this really powerful line about facing our inner demons. He said, you cannot escape from the pain and the void that's within. With your vices and your distractions and your escapism, the only way out is through.
Whoa. Deep, right?
It's about facing our challenges head on, not trying to numb ourselves or avoid the hard stuff.
Because that's where the growth happens.
Exactly. And one of the speakers talked about the importance of operating with integrity even when no one's watching.
Oh, yeah. What was that one?
Are you going to operate to your standard or are you going to cut corners? They asked. Especially when no one's watching, that's when you gain the discipline and strength to uphold those standards.
It's about doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when no one's looking.
And that's what builds true character.
Okay, I have chills.
Me too.
Yeah.
This one really got to me.
One speaker shared this incredibly vivid image about living a life of purpose. They said, my big thing is when I live my life, I want to make sure that when I'm dead and gone, that I wring that wash rag out. And that wash rag is my soul. They went on to say, I want to make sure that I'm constantly pursuing whatever it is I'm pursuing just to be the best I can. Just constantly grinding myself into a fine powder.
It's about squeezing every last drop out of life, isn't it?
Yeah. Living with no regrets, knowing you gave it your all.
Another speaker said, you have this one life, this precious life, and it's not a rehearsal for something else. This is the real one.
So what are we going to do with it?
That's the question, isn't it? What are we going to do with this one precious life?
We've got to find those things that light us up, those things we're passionate about, and go after them with everything we've got.
Because as one speaker said, beautiful people do not just happen.
We become beautiful through our experiences, through our struggles, through our willingness to embrace the messiness of life and keep growing.
It's been an incredible journey exploring these speeches with you.
Me too. So much wisdom and inspiration. What a way to kick off the new year.
To everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it as motivating and inspiring as we did.
Remember, you have the power to create the life you want. It takes effort, it takes dedication, but it's so worth it. So go out there, put in the reps, embrace the challenges, and make those dreams a reality.